Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Well, before we get to the stories that we have today, if anyone has a story they'd like to share, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. I'll leave that in the description. If you want to contribute, you can go to a link in the description. It's a PayPal Me link. I appreciate every contribution I've received, and they are very much needed at times, and God bless every one of you. Now, today we have a Native American lady, Charlie, who is going to share some Bigfoot, going to share Little People, and a white wolf story. So these are kind of a Native American type stories. Super fascinating. Got to hear this. So, without further ado, let's just go to our guest. Okay, if you would, introduce yourself, and then we will get into your stories, please.
Okay, I'm Charlie Marie. I live in the Pacific Northwest, more like Tacoma, Washington, born and raised. And that's pretty much it for now.
Right. Washington State is such a beautiful place. You all have...
Yeah, it is. And
just magnificent.
I've noticed when I go other places, when I visit other states and stuff like that, the first thing that I'm in awe of is the dirt's different.
Right.
It's really weird. The Washington State dirt up here is basically compost everywhere, and you go somewhere else and it's sand, or it's red, or it's a weird brown, or it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, and you all have just amazing looking forest, and to me, I think it's immaculately beautiful. From what I've seen, because I've not been to Washington State. I've been most everywhere in the country, but I haven't been to Washington State. But I have people send me footage and things like that.
Well, if you're claustrophobic, don't live in Washington, especially Western Washington, because I'm terrified of wide open places because I'm so closed in with all the trees and the bushes and everything around me.
Right. Well, I didn't even think about that, but it makes sense to me. Now, you, when you sent the email to me, you were talking about camping with the elders and this little person. If you want to, let's start with that.
Okay, well, last summer, about a year ago, actually, I went camping with my cousin. He introduced me to some elders because I'm a practicing shaman. I'm new at this. And he wanted to introduce me to some more of our Native American family. And they're running a teepee camp up in Packwood, Washington, where I volunteered to go out there and help cook and stuff and help vets with PTSD and stuff, and sleeping in teepees and campfire and all that. And I had to get up in the middle of the night to use the outhouse, which we set up. And I have a really powerful flashlight my daughter bought me. And, when you're out in the woods and you're walking through alone and there's trees everywhere and roots coming out of the ground, you don't want to trip, you're definitely going to use a flashlight. So I start flashing it around, and I see something, and then I put the flashlight back over there because I saw something move, and I'm terrified of rats. And there was this little person, sort of like one of those little garden gnomes that you see, holding a piece of bark in front of their face. And I pulled the flashlight away, and I was terrified. I was going, well, I'm not sure if I should use four-letter words, but those are the words I was using to myself over and over and over again. And then I looked back over there without the flashlight, and I said, you may pass. I don't mind. Don't mess with me. I won't mess with you. I'm good. And I went in the honey bucket and freaked out a little longer and got my nerves back together and then walked back out, and it was still there holding the bark in front of its face. I said, no, seriously, I'm good. You can continue to move on. Everything's good. You're allowed to be here. And I went into my TP, and I woke up my boyfriend and freaked out.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, do you all have a name for those little people like that?
Well, talking to the elders, they said that they don't want to really tell me any information.
Right.
They want me to experience this on my own, so they just call them little people, and then leave it at that for now until I'm told what, because I'm there to also learn and take in, and they don't want to.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of times they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, they're willing to talk about it, but only in the same words that you use.
Yeah.
And they were surprised that the first night that I spent out there that this happened to me, because elders could be out in the woods every summer, camping, hunting, fishing, doing whatever they want, and they never, hardly ever experienced this.
Right.
But the weirdest thing is after I went to sleep, the same night. Because when I went to sleep, I kept having this reoccurring nightmare that Bigfoot would come in and grab me out of my bed and hold me like under his arm like a sack of potatoes and take off through the woods and take me to his camp.
Man.
And I just kept waking up because it kept terrifying me. But every time I went to sleep, it went right back to that. And when I woke up in the morning, my ribs hurt so bad. I mean, a lot of my body hurt really, really bad. And I talked to the elder in the morning saying, this freaked me out. I'm not sure if I want to spend another night. I was going to leave last night, but my boyfriend told me to shut up and go to bed. And he goes, wow. Because I sat there and told him about the little person. I told him about the Bigfoot dream. And he goes, well, that's he's talking to you in your dreams spiritually because it's the only way he can communicate with you.
All right.
So tonight when you go to bed, I want you to just try not to be fearful, because it's your soul, it's your mental brain, it's your spirit that's going, not you. And I go, but I hurt so bad. I mean, look. And I pull my shirt up to show my ribs. And I go, I feel like I'm bruised all the way around. He goes, by noon, you'll be fine. But, he wanted you to remember that this was real and this wasn't just a dream. Wow. He has a message for you, and you need to listen to his message.
Right. And I want to let people know, we'll go back and we'll talk about the little person and this and kind of get some questions, but I want people to know that where I cover these things from a biblical worldview, there's lots of cases in the Bible where beings came to someone in dreams, and it was real. It wasn't like some delusion. It wasn't, a figment of their imagination. It was real entities, whether, most time in the scripture it was an angel that would go to a person inside of a dream, and they would give them a real message that applied to their real life. Like an angel came to the three, what we call wise men. They were magi, and they were probably Hebrew remnants that were from the Babylonian captivity that were still in, the far east, basically. And that's how they, would know the star, kind of stuff, where they were, the child's going to be born here. But anyway, the angel came in and said, don't go back and tell Herod about the child. Or Joseph had an angel come to him inside of a dream and said, go to, this child is of God, so, you can marry her. She didn't cheat on you, kind of deal. Or there was a time when an angel said, flee to Egypt because Herod's, seeking to kill you. you're the baby, you know. And so, you know, this is not far-fetched that you had something come to you inside of a dream to, you know, give you some type of message. That's not unbelievable, and it can be real. And a lot of times, I don't know if anyone listening has ever had a dream that they were working all night. I've had dreams where I was working when I was building houses and stuff, but I had dreams where I was working all night long, man, pouring concrete or framing or something like that, and I'd wake up tired. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go to work now, and I worked all night. You know, I felt like I worked. Seriously, I was sore and tired, and oh my gosh, you know, now I got to go to work and work. Well, this is going to be a 24-hour day. But, you know, so I believe you when you said you hurt. Now let's go back to the little person. Can you give a okay, you're camping with the elders and stuff, so this is kind of like a continuing tradition stuff. Is that correct?
Actually, it's the very first year of a long hiatus from the Packwood Native American history. Packwood, at one point, back before, let's say, white man, and this is what I learned at camp also, used to be the center trading post for Native Americans way back when, hundreds of years ago, where the coastal fishermen, the coastal Indians, would bring their goods, their fish, their dried fish and their dried meat and stuff like that, and their leather works and skins to Packwood. And the Eastern Washington Native American tribes and Oregon tribes and some Canadian tribes would come in the fall to Packwood, and there'd be like a 3-week thing of trading. So buffalo meat would be traded for dried salmon, you know, stuff like that. And this happened every year. Well, when white man came and the Native Americans were put in schools and put on tribes, and all this stopped. So this is, last year was the first year of the teepee camps. We had 8 teepees up. People were allowed to come up there for free. You did not have to be Native American. We only had a couple of very small rules, and no alcohol, no drugs, and your behavior must be appropriate. And we really tried to focus on veterans with PTSD, because a lot of the elders were in Vietnam and or other wars, and they knew that they could help because they've helped other people. So,
okay,
knowing the history of that area, and as the elder put it to me, that these people are coming to me because they knew that they could communicate with me because I was open to it,
right,
where most people aren't.
Right. And so you're staying in teepees and stuff like that, and kind of doing things the old school way.
Yes.
Okay, that's really cool, man. I would love to go to one of those. Now, when you so it's in the middle of the night, and how old were you when this happened?
49, because I just turned 50.
Okay, so this wasn't too terribly long ago, was it?
1 year ago.
Okay, all right. So you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and you come out of the tent, and you see this little person. Can you kind of give us a description of what all you was able to see? Like, give us, like, you know, the best you can, because I might do a art piece on this and paint this whole thing. If you can kind of give.
Well, you know the little cartoon gnomes everybody buys?
The cartoon gnomes?
They put in their yard?
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, he was almost knee-high. And since I'm 5'6", that gives you an idea for height. And the bark that was in front of him was probably 3 of his heads. So he was trying to look bigger than what he was. And he wasn't chunky like those gnomes that you buy in the store.
Right.
He was chunky, but not like that, not not like Santa Claus.
Right.
I mean, he looked like if you took a human, he was a medium human, but he was only almost as high as my knee.
Right. So, you being, kind of short, you're talking 1.5 feet or so tall.
Probably.
Yeah. And that's real interesting because I had someone come on from up in that area that was logging, and he ran across, he had a Bigfoot story and stuff to share, but he said that he was basically driving the bulldozer, and they're way, way out. He said there's no way anyone would be out here, and he had the guy that was working the ground say, "Man, you got to check this out." So he gets off the bulldozer and goes down and looks on the ground where this guy was pointing, and they were tiny footprints that were really, really detailed footprints, really good footprints. He said, but they were tiny feet, maybe 3 inches long. And he said, but it wasn't a bare foot. He said these things had shoes. And
yeah.
I started looking into it a little bit, and there are a few times where I've run into these stories of these little people, and even in Hawaii, I had someone email me after a recent episode about the little people that are in Hawaii, because Bigfoot's not in Hawaii. That's the only state you don't have any Bigfoot stories from, but they do have these little people, and these little people are all around the world, just like the Bigfoot stuff. And it's quite incredible that there is a tiny race. The Four Corners region, J.C. Johnson, he talks about these little people quite a bit, and they're just a really small humanoid, just like the Bigfoot is a really tall humanoid type, but hairy creature. But the little people are just like regular humans, but really small. That is just fascinating. And so you say this thing looked like a human, but just small, and it's holding a piece of bark that is as long or as big as 3 of his heads. So he's trying to make himself seem bigger, and hiding his face and what have you. Could you tell anything about what it was wearing?
Yeah. You ever, when we were younger, you'd watch those old cowboy shows, and you'd see that trapper wearing, moccasin boots and leather pants and a leather jacket.
Wow.
It was like that.
My goodness, that is so interesting. And
but like I said, from like the mid-chest up, I could not see.
Right. So he was holding this bark in front of his face then.
Yeah.
And did you notice like what type of bark it was? It doesn't matter.
It was older.
Pardon?
I believe it was older.
Elder?
Older wood.
Okay.
Older.
Right. You can sometimes like take a good sized piece of bark off of a tree, and that's so interesting. It's fascinating. Why do you think
all over you got?
Why do you think he was holding that in front of his face to look bigger, or do you think he was partly trying to hide his face? And what?
Growing up, I've watched a lot of animal shows and Discovery and stuff like that, and that's just the feeling I got, that he was just trying to look taller and kind of hiding behind it, hoping I didn't see him.
Right. And that's all that you can come up with. That's as much as anyone could come up with. Anything, I guess, is sort of a guess, but you had the feeling of it, and a lot of times the gut feeling is the best answer, isn't it?
Yeah, and I had the feeling that he was like more upset that he got caught. Wasn't scared, just upset.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt compelled to tell him, it's okay, it's all good. I'm not going to hurt you or nothing. I don't care. You can pass through anytime you want. Just don't mess with me. Just go ahead and pass through. I'm good.
That's interesting that you did that, because I had a fellow one time sent me a Bigfoot story, and many times actually, well, not many times, but maybe 4 or 5 times, someone had emailed me a story that they typed out, and they said that the Bigfoot looked like it was either mad that it was seen or embarrassed that it was seen. You know what I mean? So when you say that, I believe that, because they don't expect to be seen. They're that good at being hidden.
But then we're really good at not being able to read facial expressions off other animals. I mean, if a dog smiles, he looks like he's going to growl.
Right.
I mean,
you're right.
So we could miscommunicate that really easy.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Oh my goodness, that's unbelievable. So now when you have this Sasquatch encounter, and it comes to you in the dream and it picks you up and stuff like that, and it feels real, and you actually have physical manifestations of pain and things like that. What can you describe, like in the dream, what you was able to see of it, what it looked like, and things like that, and where did it take you? What's the most information that you can kind of give on what you thought was going on there, or what was trying to be conveyed, or anything like that?
Well, from what I can tell, the only thing I remember is waking up trying to grab both sides of the teepee as I'm being pulled backwards out of the teepee. And he readjusts me and shoves me under his arm with his other arm over the top of me, making sure I stay there. And he goes on a full run, and I can feel in my ribs, in my between my ribs and my hips, that soft spot there. Every bump, every move, everything as he's going through these woods. I could feel the bushes and the stickers and the tree limbs just wiping across my face. I felt like my skin was trying to come off because he was going so fast. I could feel him breathing. And I actually was under his arm for a good hour and a half, it felt like. I mean, this dream just went on and on and on. And I hurt so bad that at one point I just had to give in because I hurt so bad I didn't know what else to do. And at one point I put my arms around him, and then my arms would not reach around him.
Right.
I could not connect my arms around him. But I was able to get a hold of a fistful of hair, and he didn't seem to mind. So I even grabbed in even further to relieve the pain from my sides. And to be able to adjust myself a little bit to breathe better. And he let me adjust myself. I guess he figured I wasn't going to run or try to fight him or something. I don't know. And then he finally takes me into a little tiny itty bitty, like a dead end alley. But, in the woods, like a little tiny valley, but it's like a dead end alley. There's only one way in or out.
Right.
And he takes me to the very back part of it and tosses me down to the ground, and the other ones, I think there was 2 females and 3 children that came over towards me and kind of poked at me and stuff like that and was checking me out. And I looked at the one that was carrying me, and he just gave me sorrowful eyes, so I knew not to react. I mean, I'm a mom. You don't fuck with my kids. I'm not going to mess with you.
Right.
And then they went to the front. If I'm looking down the alley to find my way out, they went to the right towards the entrance, but off to the side a little bit more. And they were eating. And a couple of the kids looked like they were getting ready to go to bed. And every time I moved, the guy, Bigfoot, would just adjust his body so I knew just to sit back down. So, I tried to stretch. I felt my ribs. I was trying to just analyze if anything's broke or anything else. It seemed like I spent another 12 hours there. And then suddenly I started getting thoughts in my head that weren't mine. And he started telling me the recent history of his people. And then he started giving me a little bit more history of that, because I guess he got the idea that I actually was hearing him in my head. And then one of the kids got up, and because I'm sitting there and I'm shivering and I'm freezing and stuff like that, and they throw some raw meat down at my feet. And I ate it, but I was freezing. And the Bigfoot guy decided to cuddle up to his family, and they were all going to go to sleep. So I figured I better sleep, and I was freezing. So I tried to go over there like I was a puppy or something and tried to snuggle in. And one of the kids batted me big time, and I think it felt like my arm got broke. And I figured, well, if I'm a puppy and I get kicked away, what do? I go snuggle in again. I don't let them beat me. And I snuggled in again, and one of the other kids let me snuggle up to the back side of him so I could actually go to sleep. And when I felt like I was drifting off next to the Bigfoot, I woke up.
Wow. So...
Woke up out of a dead sleep.
Do you think that sometimes I notice, and not necessarily these kind of stories with Bigfoot, but I've noticed that people will believe that they're dreaming, but in actuality, it was real, that it really did happen, but the whatever it was that come and took them projects something, whether it's some type of infrasound or whatever it may be. It makes them believe that it was a dream state. And there are some things I could get into about some things like even in the Bible where that happened, but it was actually a real thing. Do you think maybe it really did take you?
No, because I checked, because I'm a girl. And if we spend a lot of time in the woods and stuff like that, especially if we're getting carried through woods and everything else, spending 12 hours on the ground and stuff like that, we're going to have dirt in our underwear. We're going to have dirt on the bottom of our feet. I checked myself. To see if I had bruises and everything else. I was perfectly fine, and there was no debris in my bed. And I was sleeping with my boyfriend.
Right, but you were still sore, and it did carry you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God, I was sore.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, if it's carrying you, then you may not be dirty. I mean, it's just a thought. Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
That it was I think that you can actually abduct a person, but not abduct their body, abduct their spirit man kind of thing, because some abduction cases, like from one case I had from the Philippines, it seemed to me like they left his body, but they took his consciousness or his soul or spirit or whatever you want to call it.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and
my soul,
but that
my
doesn't make it less real.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, it doesn't make it less real.
That's true.
Yeah, and any kind of trauma that your spirit body would receive would manifest as trauma in your physical body, because they're so interconnected that if you were to hurt this spirit body, the body that you have that's outside, inside your body, then it will transfer over to the regular body, and I could do like a video at some point on near-death experiences, and the ability you still have to feel pain even when you come out of your body. So there is somehow connected to your spirit.
Yeah.
Person is connected to
Well,
your
I have
physical.
no doubt. I actually lived this.
Right.
It was no. I went to sleep. I had a dream.
Mm-hmm.
That Bigfoot, that spirit, that whatever it was, took my spirit with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was there for 12 hours or
Right.
more. I mean, hour and a half through the woods, another 12 hours in that spot.
Right.
I
So-
was there. I lived every minute of it.
Right. So when you woke up, was it morning time?
No,
How
it
long?
was only 3 hours later.
3 hours later. So there you are. That time, when you're talking about time and space, it outside this dimension, time and space are not. It isn't relevant. Outside this three-dimensional world that we live in, time and space does not really count. It isn't really relevant to our realm that we live in, and that's a hard thing to comprehend. So you could spend, even like in the near-death experiences, sometimes people have really long experience outside their body after they had something happen and they died, and basically, but when they come back, it's sometimes really that no time, or only a few seconds passed, or a minute passed, or whatever it might be. Sometimes 3 days passed and it seemed like they were only gone for a few hours. So time and space
exactly.
does not apply. So I get that. I actually believe what you're saying, and that's just how it transferred over to reality in this realm once you were brought back. You don't remember being brought back, but I think that he brought you back, or when your physical body woke up, your spirit body was automatically pulled to your body, because like in Ecclesiastes, the silver cord was not cut. If that silver cord was cut, then you would not appear back in your body. You would just you'd be dead in the tent, and you would be
Well, what I didn't say is I started this dream about 5 times before he actually got me to his camp. I kept waking up in fear. I was terrified.
Okay, so he
So
attempted
this was
this.
like my 6th time going back to sleep that night when he actually got me to his camp. When I was able to calm down enough and keep telling myself, this is just a dream. This is not real. Wow, these woods have really freaking me out. God, I should probably go camping more often than, once every 20 years.
So was the scenario the same each time? Him coming in there to grab you?
Yeah. I had to give him permission.
So it was
That was it.
It was exactly the same, or kind of the same?
It was not exactly the same, but
Okay.
pretty much the same every single time.
So it was several real attempts to
And
take
the
you.
elder explained to me that if I wake up, if I get scared, if I whatever, I can pull myself back from my body, and that's my way of saying no. But for some reason, he kept coming back because he couldn't take no for an answer.
Right.
And finally, I just let myself go, and I went with it, and I didn't let my fear pull me back. So I was able to go in for this long term, but as soon as I fell asleep with the little Bigfoot, I woke right back up. My spirit bounced back.
Okay. So what do you think the purpose was then? To see maybe where they live, or to see something about them, to know they're real, or what do you think the deal was?
I'm not sure if most people are ready for the message. And I still need to go camping again and get the rest of the message and hope we can contact each other again. He's letting me know that they're just very simple people. They just want to live their lives and be left alone. They harm nobody. They have no want for nothing from any of us.
All right.
And
do you think they're
are
physical?
Of us.
Right. Oh yeah,
We
I
are
agree.
of them.
Right. I believe that they are genetically related. I also
Yeah,
think
and
they
that's
are
one of
physical
the
creatures.
messages. One of the messages is that we came from them. And it's time for us natives to remember this. This is some of our lost history that we've always known. But because of so many generations have been away from the elders and being taught and living tribal life the way we used to, that we forgot this. And it's time for us to remember again.
Right.
That we are of Bigfoot. At one point, Bigfoot was turned into us.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's interesting. There's lots of different theories out there, as you know. I do think that they are genetically. I think they really do exist in this realm. It seems to me from what I've gathered, but I don't have no proof of it. You know what I'm saying? That they are related to us, partly a spiritual being and a that spiritual beings like angels and stuff like that. They have bodies, but like Apostle Paul said, the glory is different. But in Genesis, it talks about the sons of God coming to the daughters of men, and then this Nephilim deal was created, and which it doesn't mean to fall. If you look in the Hebrew on the way you would spell to fall, it does not mean that. But typically a Nephilim is a really tall being, and there wasn't just hybrids between angels and humans, but there was hybrids between angels and all different types of flesh. And and you get a list of the different types of flesh, like fish and beast and celestial, terrestrial, and there's a whole list that have actual physical bodies. But when you say the glory is different, then that means that there's differences in the say that like when Jesus was resurrected, he was able to walk through doors that were locked, but he was also able to walk up to Thomas and say, thrust your hand in my side and see if I'm not flesh and bone. So he had a real body still yet, even when he had his new body. Angels, they have real bodies. They can, but the glory being different, they're able to go to and fro, in and out of the heavenly realm and this realm, and wherever else there is, which can be debatable. And then of course, there's some things that are disembodied that are the unclean spirits or the demonic entities. And some people say they know, like, oh well, the demons are disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, but there's none of that really in the Bible. So anyone that says they know 100%, they don't really have that information other than extra biblical text and things like that.
Well, unless they get in the Vatican and get the books that have been not published for public. And they don't know what they're talking about.
Right, and and then there's also the like the Enoch stuff and Jasher and things like that, and whether you can depend on that for sure, that's I don't like to teach anything that would be that I would say this is 100% true, and if I don't really know for 100%, I just know that is written, so that's a possibility. And so a Bigfoot creature that's able to do spiritual type things, but is also physical, and they live in this realm, they hunt in this realm, and they leave footprints, and they can break trees and make the tree structures and all that kind of stuff, and And I think they did live where they took you.
Yeah,
You know,
I do too.
that valley does actually exist. And they took you there to see, you know, hey, I'm over here and I've got these females and these children and you know, that's I think you went to a real place, and it's
Yeah, but
interesting.
they live everyday life, doing everyday things, just
Right?
like we do. They just don't have the technology that we have.
Yeah, and it's fascinating that if they took you from a teepee and took you back to where they really do live, and the others were able to interact with you, then they're able to engage things on a spiritual level because your physical body wasn't there. Or it was there and you don't remember it because it was.
Well, he explained something to me. Our brains are split in half. And that's because Bigfoot was messed with. And to come up with the human being from Bigfoot, the brain was split, so we're not able to use both sides at the same time through the same wires. But if we have the Bigfoot brain, where the brain was fused in the middle and not segregated, we would be able to do that too.
Interesting. Yeah, fascinating stuff. So, you know.
Yeah, it's more than I ever was educated in.
Right. Well, you know, if you get any more information, you know, I would appreciate it if you contact me and let me know more. Now, also, you had this thing about this white wolf.
Yeah, that happened about 3 months later.
Can you give us a
So last
that story?
September.
Right. Take us through that and give
Yeah.
us the details and stuff.
Okay, well, like I said, I volunteered at teepee camp. There's supposed to be somebody on post at all times. My cousin was up there by himself. I went up there for the weekend to relieve him and have me there. And he wasn't there when I got there. So it was getting ready to be dark, so I went in one of the teepees and I started a fire, wondering where everybody was at. He was out hunting. And I was there by myself, and I didn't think I had a problem with it whatsoever. And I had the fire going. It was nice and roaring, and I started hearing noises outside. And I go, okay, so something's out in camp, big deal. I mean, I've already seen the mice. I've already seen the squirrels. I've already seen, other stuff. We're not far from a river. So I wasn't thinking nothing of it. But then I heard some really big noises right behind my teepee. And it kind of scared me, so I started, getting a little paranoid. And then the teepee has a flap that's down, and it does. And a wild animal's not going to know how to open it. I mean, they can walk through it, but they don't know that. And I have my gun sitting next to me. I have my flashlight. I got the fire roaring. I start talking out loud to make noises and stuff, and then I got this weird feeling of calm. And I looked up at the teepee flat, and half in and half out was a huge wolf. I'd say as big as, not a baby bear, let's say a teen bear, I guess. Not adult, but not a child. But it was a wolf. It was a dog. And the fur on this thing was like down feathers coming out of it instead of fur. And the only thing I wanted to do was go cuddle and pet it. I mean, that kind of calm. And I hear in my head, or see in my, I'm not sure if I heard it, felt it, whatever, but in my head I'm told, stay where you're at. Do not move. I'll be back. And it backed out, and the teepee flap went down. And I'm sitting there by myself, kind of wondering if I should freak out or cry or panic or scream or whatever. So I sit there and I start tapping my foot on the ground like most mothers do, because, that's what we do. And I'm going, oh, shit, I'm going to be pissed. if something happens to me, my cousin Cliff better show up. This is scaring the hell out of me. Oh, my God. And I keep hearing this noise behind the teepee. And then I'm there for about a good, 45 minutes. And I see the wolf at the entrance of the teepee that's completely opposite of me with a fire in the middle. And she goes, go now. And I look up and I'm going, in awe, shock, all this stuff. It's safe. Go now. So I grabbed my gun, my flashlight, my purse. I got in my truck. I locked myself in, and I drove the hell out of there. And halfway out of the dirt road of it where we were, because we're pretty deep in the woods, before I even got to concrete, I started having the shakes, started crying, everything else. I got to the concrete. I went forward. I went to town to somebody I knew. One of the elders was there. And I passed out on the couch that night after we talked about it and stuff. And they said, wow, are you sure you're not a modern-day medium? I mean, they're just in awe that this is happening to me. And the only thing I could think of is I think I peed my pants. So, yeah, it was definitely a huge experience, and I've had time to build up the strength to want to go back now. The next morning, we went out there, kind of find out my cousin Cliff did find a deer. Behind the teepee, he had the skin and the head. Where he was at all night was his house processing the rest of the meat. So they said it was probably coyotes or something out there with the skin and the head. Because when my cousin showed up, he said, yeah, it looks like something got to the skin. And started telling him what happened. He goes, yeah, it was probably just coyotes. And then I started telling him about the white wolf. And he got mad at me. I think he's been wanting to have a vision or see a spirit animal or something for a very long time, and it hasn't happened to him yet. So he hasn't really been talking to me lately.
Yeah. So you had a big, basically teenage, whatever age type, size or whatever, white wolf that comes part way into the teepee, and and then you had are you saying you had another one that showed up to?
The same one came back to tell me to run, to leave. It was safe to leave.
So it was there to protect you from something. What was it protecting you from?
Whatever was tearing that animal skin apart.
What do you think that was?
Behind the teepee. Coyotes.
Coyotes.
Other wild wolves that I don't know. I didn't go out there to find out.
What about maybe Dogman or something like that? Have you heard anything about those?
No, I haven't. In fact, I haven't heard much about anything until I went out there. I mean, I've always heard about Bigfoot. I've smelt him when I was a kid, and, my mom told me that was Bigfoot. I thought it was just something dead, but how does something dead show up and then leave?
Right. Now,
Dogman, I've only seen that on the internet.
Right. And there's a lot of Native Americans that know about the Dogman. Yeah,
well, these elders are not going to tell me anything until I experience it for myself and tell my story. Right, because they don't want to put anything in my head.
Right, yeah. I agree. And the few people that have come forward, they've been kind of clear about that's kind of a hush-hush thing. Not everybody needs to know, but, not everybody has those kind of experiences, and it happens to some people and it doesn't happen to others, but do you think that there are different types of Sasquatch that are like the Janoskwa type that have the red eyes that are malevolent, and then there might be another type that's benevolent, that are, basically a good and a bad type?
I think they come in many colors, and I think they come in just like humans.
Yeah.
You have good ones, you have bad ones.
Okay. Now, the dogman type creature, and the only reason I'm thinking of a dogman type creature is because you had a wolf that typically the dogman most of the time has a appearance similar to a wolf in the face and stuff like that. And
this was the most beautiful wolf I've ever seen in my life, and it was huge.
Right.
Like I said, it was like a medium-sized bear.
Right.
It was so huge.
Yeah. And so when it told you to leave, did you have a fairly good sense of fear that there was something that was telling you to leave for?
When she said leave, I was raised by a good Christian mom. You do what your elders tell you, and if this wolf's going to come in and tell me it's safe now, leave, I'm getting the hell out of there as fast as I can.
Well, that's very interesting, because it's like it wasn't safe a minute ago, but it's safe now. Leave.
Yeah, it took about 45 minutes between the two times it showed up.
Right.
But see, I've thought this over so many times in my brain that I know for a fact if that noise would have kept going, I would have went out there with my flashlight and my gun.
What? Now, can you explain the noise?
Can
you? So you were hearing a noise?
Yeah, I kept hearing like I don't know, an angry guy going through garbage without the tin cans.
Wow. An angry guy?
I mean, it could have been the hide getting ripped up by these dogs. And yeah, I thought I did hear dogs out there.
Right.
But out there in the woods, it's not dogs, it's coyotes.
Right. That just doesn't seem like coyotes to do that by your tent. That's what that screams dogman to me. To have such a warning.
You might be right.
Yeah, because
you might be right. I have no clue.
Because coyotes typically will not do that near humans, and I think most of the time they're scared of humans. I've never really ran into a coyote that would stick around when you show up. So for it to do that,
and I started making noises and stuff, and they ignored me.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It almost seems like there was a message being sent to you. Look, we're gonna kill this thing and leave it right by your teepee. And why were you in this teepee again? Was it like the same trip, or was it a different trip, or what?
It was a different trip. I was up there like a dozen different times to help out around the teepee camp, and we get the elders that go up there. They have jobs. My cousin had a job. It was my turn to go up there to help out, but my cousin wasn't there when he was supposed to be because he decided to go hunting. He was so bored. I mean, there was supposed to be somebody at the camp 100% of the time. Come to find out, he abandoned it 3 days earlier because he shot a deer. Or an elk. He got an elk. It was in September, late, I think, or early October. It was hunting season.
Right.
And like I said, he left the skin and the head of the elk behind the teepee. So there was a dead carcass there for like 3 days. He showed up on the fourth day, and that's the next morning for me.
Right.
Because, there's no cell phone service, there's nothing. We made plans, okay, I'll be back in 2 weeks, and I'll spend the weekend, I'll spend 4 days here with you.
So that was his carcass.
So you can go
left?
shower, take a break. Huh?
What that was? Okay, so that carcass, that wasn't what he left there, was it?
Yeah, the skin of the elk.
Okay.
The hide.
Right.
And the head. He left behind the teepee. Come to find out, my cousin's kind of a slob.
Okay, so that that makes a little bit of a difference, because I was thinking something else left that there. So he left that
No,
there.
my cousin left that there.
Okay. All right. And
after
what you were
3 days,
hearing...
it was selling.
Oh,
But I didn't know that until the next day when I came back.
okay, so what you were hearing behind the tent was what you felt like was somebody mad, like dogs mad?
Like maybe 3 or 4 coyotes back there going through garbage or something. I mean, doing something back there. I couldn't tell what because I couldn't recognize the sounds. But now that after the next morning, I went back with other people, and we found the hide there. The noises made sense.
Right.
Because at that point, the hide was in like 3 different pieces.
Okay, so
and my cousin swears up and down it was one piece.
Right, so something was tearing apart this hide that he left. Your cousin, is that right, left there?
Yeah.
Okay, and you knew that that wasn't your cousin doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were hearing some other type of canine that may have been attracted to what he left there, and so you have this wolf thing that comes in, shows itself, and then it comes back and said, okay, it's safe now, go.
Yeah. It comes and tells me, stay there, do not move. I will be back.
Man, wow. I mean, you're kind of fortunate.
And then like 40, 45 minutes, it came back and it says, it's safe now, go now. Like there was urgency.
Right.
And if that would have never happened, I would have grabbed my gun and my flashlight and went out there.
Right.
Because it was starting to piss me off, all that noise.
But if it was coyotes, that would have been, you could have dealt with that. The only thing I'm thinking...
What if it was wolves?
Right, but if you a flashlight and a gun, I think, wolves would run. I think coyotes would run. They run pretty much if you shine a light and you have a gun. Humanoid shows up, some type of human. But dogmen, because I mean, in the kind of area and the kind of stuff you're dealing with little people, Sasquatch and stuff like that. To me, the only thing that you would need to be warned of would be apex predator that would be a threat to a human who has guns and lights and things like that. So, I mean, that's just my thinking on it. Maybe it would be bad if it was wolves, and something would come.
I'd have to do more research, but, it could have been dog. I have no idea.
So what's your gut feeling?
Worldly in the woods.
So your gut feeling, maybe you haven't thought enough about it, and you now you're thinking, well, maybe I'll check his dogman theory out. But your gut
I will
feeling,
check that out.
Yeah, your gut
My
feeling.
gut feeling.
Yeah. What would be so dangerous?
Well, I could see a large wild cat being that dangerous. But I don't know if they live in those woods. And I've asked other people, and they said absolutely not. But my gut told me, after I got home and I calmed down a little bit and stuff like that, that it had to have been a wild cat. It had to be something dangerous. Because I'm not afraid of coyotes. I shoot them out back all the time, and they go after my chickens.
Right, yeah. And they run. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To me, though, those type things don't make sense. Even a wolf will run if a human shows up because they don't want to risk the consequence of it. You know what I mean? Because if you show up and you throw a flashlight beam on it, and here you are, you have guns and stuff. I've never known anybody to run into those type wild predators and them not run. Now, bear or something like that might be a little different. So, but,
there's bear up there, too.
Maybe it could have been bear, but from what you were hearing, it seemed more to you like it was...
very, very low, deep, not a growl, but noises.
Right.
but it wasn't a growl.
Right. And that
I mean,
that to me sounds more dogmanish or Squatch like Sasquatch. And if there are more than one type of Sasquatch, because I'm not trying to bend your thinking.
yeah.
I cover these things from a biblical worldview, so and
You want to go
I'm,
camping with me? I'll take you there.
right. So I'm respecting your belief system, and trying to navigate this thing that would in some kind of way that would make sense. And I think that what would make sense would be, from what you were hearing, that there would be some type of really the only thing that would be something that would be a danger to you would be either a bear, a dog man, a Sasquatch, and the rest would run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what she was protecting me from, but whatever it was, I'm grateful she did. Because I can be hard-headed sometimes. And like I said, I was thinking about going out there. I had to pee. I had to go out there anyways. I had to sit there for 45 minutes wanting to pee really, really bad.
Right.
Because she told me not to come out.
Right. So, yeah, that's a fascinating. You have all your stories are really fascinating. I've been ever since I got your email. I've been really wanting to speak with you and get your story to the fans, because I knew that they would like to hear it. And it's different. It's kind of different than many kind of stories that I collect. And then when I do this from the biblical worldview perspective, people want to kind of hear what I think about it. But first and foremost, I want to let you give what you think, and I think you've done that. And I believe everything you've said. And I respect.
Yeah. Well, even talking about it now with you, I can start feeling around my waist haunting pains. It's like like bruise.
Yeah, right.
As we're talking about it, because I'm kind of reliving it, and it's like, wow. So yeah, that pain can come back when I talk about it, and I don't talk about it. I mean,
right.
I live in the world of white man around here. It's okay to be Native American and believe in this stuff, but they don't want to hear it.
Right. Well, there's
So
lots of white men.
I've told elders.
Yeah, I'm a white man. I believe you.
Pretty much it.
Okay. And I love you too. So.
I love you too. You must be one of those good old boys.
Yeah. And I appreciate you, coming forward and sharing with me. It's really an honor when people would be willing to come share with me something that is so sacred to them. And that's why I try to be very respectful about your beliefs and things like that. And when I give my beliefs, I try to do it in a way that it's letting you know that's my opinion. That this is my opinion on it, and my opinion can be wrong because I don't have no proof of it. You know what I'm saying? And
there's
I
even more
learn
with the Bigfoot thing.
Yeah, I mean, I learn every time I collect a story. I learn a little bit more, and sometimes my opinion changes because I'm piecing these things together. That's why I call it Brentonsawin Mysteries, to search. We're searching out these mysteries, and where I am a Christian, I search it from a Christian viewpoint. And you're searching your mystery from a Native American standpoint, and I want to learn about how you all perceive it. And to me, that's fascinating.
Well, I'm just at the very beginning of learning my Native heritage.
Right.
So I'm a Christian, and
right.
These experiences made me even want to learn more. I knew it being Native American because that was taken away from my mother's father that was put in one of those military schools and couldn't learn his heritage or live with his family.
Right.
So this is Native Americanness that was stripped away from my family that we're relearning now.
Yeah, right.
And the elders are now dying off. The elders that know the truth, that want to share, but they came out and they started sharing, and everybody thought they were nuts. So now this generation that's now here is learning.
Yeah, and like I'm telling you, they're not nuts. Because the things you're telling me, there's not many Christian teachers, basically, that teach the way that I'm trying to be careful the way I say it because I don't want it to be demeaning or anything like that. Because people are where they're at. That you know what you know, and you study, and you only know and can make educated guesses from what you already have gathered. I've dug deep into this for 30 plus years, into the Greek, the Hebrew, and Aramaic, and I've tried to search out these things from a level that gets to the true meaning of things, and it's not that the church or something would necessarily disagree, that they just haven't went to those areas and looked at it, because there's been plenty of pastors and things like that would be smart enough to do what I'm doing, but it's not really a great thing to be taken into the church and teaching. We're going to talk about Bigfoot today. They're not. It's almost taboo, but it's a reality, and the things that you've talked about today are a reality, and so therefore, sometimes there becomes a divide because someone who is from a Native American background might get defensive over the elders' view and the church's view, things like that. So I believe God's given.
I'm able to combine the two.
Right. I think God's given me the grace to not be offensive, but ask the questions.
I'm offensive all the time, so.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying. I don't want to offend nobody. I want to be caring. I want to be kind. I want to help you figure out what happened to you, and it's really cool that you grew up as a Christian, because then I can begin to appeal to what you do know about Christianity and the Bible and stuff like that, and ask some questions that I'm only asking you to consider. This is what I know, and this is what you're telling me, and now I know more about from the Native American perspective, and that's going to be very, very useful. I've learned a lot since we started talking. Very, very fascinating stuff. And then I'm giving you the things I know that the Bible does say, which and I agree with what you've said with the Bible, because I have been doing my research. Right, yeah, and know the Bible. You're a Christian, you know. Yeah, so you know that.
Oh, no, I go way beyond that. I got the lost books of the Bible. I've got the, right. I do my research.
Right, yeah.
I don't know whenever somebody's going to come to me for help as a shaman, coming from a religious background, no matter what religion it is. I have to take their belief system and go with that also, because I can't go against their beliefs.
Yeah, I mean,
when
you
I'm
have to be respectful.
Somebody.
You have to be respectful, and that's what I've really done here. I'm trying to be respectful, because that's your heritage, and the worst thing I could ever do would be to offend you to where you shut down and you don't want to hear anything I say, because I believe every word you said, and I know that you're viewing it from where you're at, and that's the way I do. I view things from where I am now, and where I am now, maybe I don't have the perfect vantage point to see something. We can only do and know from where we are, and when anybody thinks they know it all, they become a fool. And it's kind of like when the Bible says that professing to be wise, they became fools. And I don't want to be a fool.
The more I read and the smarter I think I'm becoming, the dumber I really feel.
Right, because I hear you, and I appreciate you saying that. Because, sometimes I think, it's like, yeah, boy, I know a lot of stuff now. And then I'll run into, like, my friend that I have over here in Richmond, Kentucky, who's been a pastor for 40 years. And he is so well studied. It's amazing. Of course, he doesn't go into the areas that that I've been going into, but it's amazing to hear what he knows about what he's dug into. And, we dig into the areas that are interesting a lot of times and things like that. And for me, when I look at your case, I think that that there would be, if I was to be wise, because when the disciples asked Jesus, what will it be like at the time of your return, when you come back, basically, and he said, the first thing Jesus said was, take heed that no man deceive you. So when you look across the whole of the New Testament, there is a lot of stuff about take heed that no man deceive you, or in the last days, or toward the end, basically, because it's kind of worded different in a few places. And when you look at what the original meanings and stuff, the latter times can be a fairly decent amount of time. It could be 1,000 years, 2,000 years. Yeah. The last time, the final or last times or the end times or whatever, isn't necessarily like only a couple years left or something. But there's a certain point where things change, and I think it was from when the Lord came and he was crucified and resurrected and what have you. That from there it was the last days. And when it comes to, like we were talking about earlier, time and space isn't applicable to the heavenly realm. So a couple thousand years is the last days. I mean, really,
yeah.
So we're the kind of people, when we go through a drive-through, if we order something and we wait a whole minute, we're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it's taking so long. This is ridiculous. I'm not ever coming back here. It is absurd. How impatient.
Instant gratification.
Yeah. And sometimes I do that. If I get in the turn lane and light turns and there's only like 10 cars and they don't all get through the light, sometimes I get upset and I act like a darn fool. It's like, oh my gosh, man, I need to get a hold of myself, because, there was 2 or 3 people looking at their phone so they didn't take off in time, kind of thing. And then next thing I know, I get caught by the red light and I have to wait till the next time that turn lane gets to go. And
yep.
We're so impatient as human beings in this fast food era, this instantaneous communication era, that we're not very pleasant people, and I'm guilty of it. I know that
we
I have
are
a lot
one
of people.
Time or another.
I've got a lot of fans that look up to me and think that I'm a man of God and stuff like that, and I have my flaws, and the only reason that I would ever be a man of God is to recognize that I am not perfect, and I know that I have flaws, and if you were to hang out with me long enough, you could point them out. But I admit it. A man of God admits he has flaws. That's why Jesus said, who's right with God? This guy that prays on the street corner, he gives some money to the poor, and he says these really long prayers that sound holy and stuff like that, and he wears these nice robes, and you know, and it basically, he painted a picture of a priestly type guy. He said, who's right with God? This guy who does all that, gives money to the poor and prays these big fancy prayers on a street corner, or the guy who falls to his knees, he tears his garments and says, have mercy on me, God. I'm a sinner. He said, who's right with God? And they said, the second guy, the guy who fell on his knees and tore his garment and said, I'm a sinner, have mercy. That's the guy who's right with God. So that's me. I would rather fall to my knees and say, I'm a sinner, please have mercy on me. Just like the thief on the cross that said, Lord, please remember me when you come into your kingdom. And the Lord said, amen, you will be with me in paradise today. So my prayer is, remember me, Lord, please. Because I'm on this cross and I'm about to be crucified. And I have no hope without you. And so, you know, that's the way I approach these things. And Charlie, I really appreciate you sharing your story. And it's very fascinating. I have learned a tremendous amount from you.
Well, we're going to have to do this again because
yeah.
I spent 3 nights up there, and that was just night number 1.
Right. The only thing I would want to say to you, and please never get offended with anything I say, because you're welcome to talk to me anytime you want to. You can email me. I'll give you my home number or my cell number. You can call me. The only thing I can say is make sure that you always consider that there could be deception. There's long cons.
I've considered that.
Right, yeah. And I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying there can be. That's the one thing that I've learned out of all the times that the time that I've done all this is that there's long cons. Because the angelic realm, the fallen angelic realm, and the demonic realm and stuff like that, they got all the time in the world. They can play long cons, over generations even. You know what I'm saying? And that seems unfathomable to people that can't wait a minute in a drive-through. It's like, man, I ordered my food 2 minutes ago and I don't have it yet. I'm ticked. So we can't understand a long con.
That is true.
Right, yeah. And where you grew up Christian, always keep that in the back of your mind. And
I do. I help people get rid of spirits that are in their house and help people that don't want to pass.
Right.
And spirits that don't want to pass, I help them over. I've dabbled a little bit in helping with getting rid of demons and stuff. And, like I said, I'm a shaman.
Right. And I think in the long run, I think the Lord will use you for good. You'll see that play out over after you begin to piece these things together and stuff like that. I really believe that the Lord makes all things work together for the good of those who love God and called according to His purpose. And I think that you love God, and I believe that also He's called you according to His purpose. So if you keep Him first in your mind, He will lead you.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Right.
I ask the Lord to guide me every day, and I thank Him every morning that I'm still here to do what I can.
Right. Amen. And I also ask that, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, that He also makes sure that you know the truth, because the truth shall make you free. It doesn't set you free, it makes you free. You are created free as a born-again Christian, and the Lord will finish the work that He started in you. In Jesus' holy name, I ask, amen. And thank you very much, Charlie, for coming in and sharing. And stay in touch, because I would like to know more about what you figure out. And any kind of quizzing you can do around with the elders and stuff, it would be very helpful to the fans to know more, because there's a lot of knowledge that's going to be gone from us as these generations are passing away. Like there's some elders that pass away that might be 90 years old. There's a vast amount of wisdom that they had that they could have passed to us, and I think that a lot of times people don't, because they don't want to get accused of being crazy or what have you, and we can't let all
even
that...
in their own tribes. Yeah, even within their own tribe, people are, he's just nuts. He's just old school.
Right.
Stuff like that. People don't take them serious or anything. I mean, the best thing you can do is sit with your elders and let them talk. There's nothing wrong with that.
When I was a little kid, and I can't remember what grade I was in, maybe like the 5th grade or something, and we had to take these handheld recorders with the little cassette tape in it, and we were supposed to go interview someone from the Depression and ask them about the Great Depression. And I really didn't know much about it. I thought, well, I guess I'll go do this because I'm going to get a grade on it. And I went and talked to these old people, and they lived through the Depression. And I was like, wow. And as time went on, I was seeing this generation pass away. We're not going to have that information no more. We're going to collect what we... I
got a tidbit of information from you. I learned from a senior citizen that I used to... he was a friend of the family, and he had no family of his own. So on Christmas, Thanksgiving, weekends, I'd go see him, take him, Easter dinner, and I'd buy him a small Christmas present and stuff like that. He had nobody.
Right.
He had... Cope's a program that came in there at end of life that would show up 5 days a week to cook for him and change his behind. But there was nobody on holidays and weekends, so I'd show up and do that. Well, he was in the Air Force for years and used to take pictures out of the belly of the plane at Native American tribes. So later in life, when he got out of the military, he became a teacher because he came from an educated family, and he worked with the Hopis. And then later in life, he worked for the military as a ranger-type person. And one of the weirdest jobs he ever had was going along Washington and Oregon State mountains and dynamiting all the tunnels closed. He said they were the most stalactites and whatever types and crystals and most beautiful caves he's ever seen in his life. All dynamited shut, football lengths deep, all the way to the surface. But he never knew why. From the smallest, the littlest ones they could find to the biggest ones they can find across Northern California, Oregon, Washington State. I would like to know why. He never knew.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff, we're going to lose those things. When my pawpaw passed away in Texas, he had told me, about him working on General Patton's feet when they were in the desert over in Africa. And when I watched the History Channel, I found out that General Patton was in Africa for a little bit, and Papa, like, he was telling me, General Patton's feet. He knew General Patton. I didn't ask him no questions. That's awful. That's horrible. And then he told me about, being in the Korean War, and he got shot and stuff like that. I didn't ever quiz him about it. And also, he told me about, he didn't tell me about this. I found this out in the newspaper. He was an interpreter in the Nuremberg trials after World War II. I wished I had been able to, if I had quizzed him, I could have found a lot more stuff out, man. It would have been very intriguing, but we don't care these days about what elderly people have to say. I'm
one of the lucky ones. My mom has always taught me to respect my elders and listen to their stories and spend time with them. And I've done that my whole life. I mean, you'd be amazed on all the things I've heard.
Right. And yeah, and I'm not saying that. I was raised to respect my elders, and I did.
Yeah.
But not enough to listen to what they had to say. Because, Pablo told me about all kinds of war stories, but now, to me, it's more interesting, and I really wished I had have quizzed him more and dug up all the good stuff, especially like the translating and the Nuremberg trials. I would have liked to know more about that. And General Patton, I mean, working on General Patton's feet, because he said General Patton had a problem with his feet in North Africa when they were fighting over there, and he had to pull his General Patton's feet boots off, and I just really didn't, as a younger person at that time, I was only 17 or so. I didn't really know much about all that kind of stuff, and it would have been really cool if I had have known and was able to have a camera there and just quiz him on everything that I could think of. And so I'm just saying, anybody out there that knows people that go back to those days, if you know somebody that was in the Holocaust and has a tattoo on their arm that was in one of the concentration camps, quiz them, ask them everything, collect all that information, because it will be valuable, in my opinion, because once they're gone, that's gone. That information is gone forever, and I've thought about that in recent times, and the old lady that I interviewed about the Depression, and she talked about the lack of stuff they had, and from after that they were very conservative. You can tell a person that went through the Depression, or used to be able to tell, because I met many old people that had rooms, in their house full of canned goods and stuff, man. They would collect every darn thing and save stuff, and when I was in college, I had a few elderly people that would give me, to help me get through college, they would give me like a whole truckload. I had a little S10 pickup. They'd give me a whole truckload full of canned goods, green beans and black-eyed peas, or corn, to where my truck was squatting. It was only S10, but it's like, and when I think back on it, it was because they went through the Depression. They were never going to be in a situation again to where they did not have provision. And when they got old, they were like, I can give some of this away now. And anyway, that's a beautiful thought, and I hope people can take that in and consider it for whatever information they might feel that needs to be collected. But Charlie, thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing, and any more stuff that you find out, promise me that you'll get it and call me.
Yes, and as soon as we're done recording, I'll get your phone number and all that.
Yes, ma'am. So hold on the line, and I'll shut this show down. And everybody out there in YouTube land, I appreciate you for listening. If you got something that you want to share, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. If you want to contribute to help with the show, you can go to a link in the description. It's a PayPal me link, super easy to use, and I appreciate every contribution that I've received. And until next time, God bless, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.